This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's first on-demand workshop, How to Become a Coffee Consultant. Available now online for you to learn at your own pace with a certificate available upon completion. Click the link in the show notes to access today for just €50. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of our 5-part series with Todd McCarthy from Full Spectrum Roasters. I'm not going to get sick of saying that, Todd.
Oh, no, it sounds great.
So we've launched. This is actually the week of the launch, isn't it? Or last week?
Yeah. We're 4 days in now. But yeah.
So
Onward
and upward, because throughout the process of doing this, you have to ask yourself a whole bunch of questions. And one of those questions is, how am I going to roast this coffee? And when I work with clients, a lot of the time it's the question of, when I'm working with coffee roasters, are you going to decide how you're going to roast and then go find the people who want that coffee? Or are you going to figure out what the customer wants, and are you going to roast to match that? How did you approach deciding how you were going to roast coffee?
I'm going to try and keep this in a really sort of small package, but it's a very difficult one to talk about. Okay, so when I've been lucky enough to be able to have my consumer front and center and really close to me through the roastery cafe that I've had. So my consumer's always been right there. I've always been able to have that conversation with them at the source after they've drank the coffee. Yep. So to answer your question, you always need to be considerate of a certain market and a certain segment of people. But when it comes to deciding how to roast your coffee, experience tells me that I guess there's 2 main camps. There's people who are really focused on time intervals of our really traditional 3 stages of the roast: the drying stage, the Maillard stage, the development stage, and then modulating the time that is spent in between those segments. Or on the other hand, you are a curve guru. You're really looking at the shape of a curve and really playing with that. You're not looking for smooth declining rate of rises. You're looking for no crashes. You're not looking for any flicks and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the roasters that I've worked with in the past and roasters who have consulted me, they always sort of fall in those 2 categories in my experience. But then you really need to understand consumer preferences as well, and really starting to get to know your consumers and just how they really enjoy drinking coffees. You need to learn about your roast levels. You need to familiarize yourself with different roast levels and their characteristics. So just as really broadly speaking, they're always either light, medium, or dark. But the positives that I have is that, as I said, the feedback. If I have a cup of coffee, for instance, that I like at a couple of different roast levels, I can then share that with my customers and then gather feedback immediately. But then from then, I think it's really important to then customize based on that feedback. So really analyze and then adjust your roasting profiles accordingly. This was in the early days. This is early days supply. So what I've found from there is that there's not ever one right profile for all people, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where I am required then to provide variety. So the way that Full Spectrum has organised its offering is into sort of the times of the day that you'd be drinking coffees. I have an all-day blend. I've got a mid-afternoon blend. So my all-day blend is really rich and robust, which is sort of down towards the dark roast territory. My all-day blend is really bright and vibrant, which is my mid-afternoon blend is bright and vibrant. And then I also have a late night, which is decaf. So through the feedback and through analysing over the last 10 years of having a roastery cafe before Full Spectrum, I know that I need to provide variety. So I've been able to recognise that different consumers have very diverse tastes. So offering a variety of roast levels, it really enables me to cater to a much broader customer base. And then I can figure out who prefers light roasts, who prefers medium roasts, who prefers dark roasts. But then I need to sort of continuously refine continuously adapt. But then that sort of plays into the con of it, which is the quality control of all these coffees that you're roasting.
which I can't imagine is easy work.
No, not at all. It's,
how many cuppings have you done this year? How many coffees have you cupped?
Many samples. But I was, yeah. It's that's the beauty of my role, you know. That's what I love about this, is that I have a sense of exploration, and we've got relationships that I've been able to foster in the last 10 years of roasting coffees in Coffs Harbour or regional New South Wales, and I found my people, you know. I found the people who are really doing the entire industry justice, who are doing the producer justice, you know, and providing me with the level of transparency that I need to then pass on to my clients.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing to watch, because the open-mindedness and the maturity with which you brought to making this decision was incredibly impressive. You weren't someone who had decided, no, screw this, I'm an omni-roast guy. And because I'm an omni-roast guy, I'll be the person who determines how this coffee is going to be. You know, that kind of closed-mindedness that you see a lot of, and ego. With you, it was like, well, no, I have a diverse group of drinkers who come to the cafe to drink supply coffee. And now we're going to be changing it to full spectrum coffee. Mm-hmm. And this is an opportunity for us to really cater to the needs, but bring some clarity. This was the most impressive part of you rebranding. The way that you decided to bring clarity to which coffee applied to which customer, and you made the decision super easy. You didn't, I remember at the time, I think I was telling you about a comment my brother had made about our industry. And he said, why do you guys got to make it so hard by giving me all this information that I don't need? And that was kind of a light bulb moment for you. Do you remember that?
Yeah, definitely. Have we got time to touch on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there was always a bamboozling amount of information that people put on the front of coffee bags, and that's my heritage, you know. That's part of my transparency model, that I thought back in the day, I need to give them as much information as I possibly can, so then they can make a decision. But now looking at it, it was too much, you know. I figured that through the research and identifying that there was a huge variety, not every one of those people will need as much information. They just want a nice cup of coffee, you know?
Yeah. They want to know, should I drink this in the morning? Is this gonna be one of those coffees that if I'm craving a coffee in the afternoon, it's gonna hit the spot? Mm-hmm. And you, through the brand, you made this really easy for them to decide. And as a business development consultant, like the added benefit for anyone who does decide to take this approach, rather than calling it, you know, an Ethiopian yoga shefe, and you call it a morning coffee instead. Mm-hmm. When you take that to a supermarket, to decide to sell it to a supermarket, you don't have to change the barcodes every time you change the coffee, because it's still, you can change it to a Colombian. SKU, isn't it? It's all the same SKU. So the supermarkets want a kind of consistency that you know, adding too many barcodes just makes life more difficult. So if you're going to take 3 different coffees as a brand to a supermarket, and you say to them, we have a morning blend, we have an afternoon blend, and we have an evening blend. Mm-hmm. You then have the freedom to be more sustainable as a business by adapting the costings of the coffee that are going inside that bag without having to provide any more information.
Exactly.
And that is like the genius behind creating a sustainable business, is thinking 35 steps ahead about, you know, the growth plan for 2 or 3 years from now and how you're going to be able to adapt. And Full Spectrum has done that. Like, you've done it in a way that doesn't compromise on the experience that the customer's going to have, nor on the purchasing options that are ahead of you. How does it feel having that kind of openness in the future of your brand? Like when you look forward and know that you've created this room for yourself to make these different decisions, what does that feel like as a roaster?
It feels fantastic, is because we are very open to the challenges of the supply chain. I mean, the coffee supply chain is complex, and it's involves sourcing beans from various regions worldwide that have good years and they have bad years. So having a setup like this, it just enables you to move sort of in and out of origin while still maintaining the same core elements of the blend profile. But for instance, I mean, the issues that everyone's having with Ethiopia at the moment, I would typically use a natural processed Ethiopian, but just because, I mean, that's not essentially written on the bag, so it enables me to swap that Ethiopia natural out for something that is performing better.
Go on.
Sorry. But, I mean, it's also dependent on external suppliers and I guess potential disruptions in the supply chain as well, whether that be through weather or political instability. There's so many other factors that impact your ability to meet demand and to maintain consistent supply.
You just touched on something that is really a great segue into the next episode, which is like the geopolitical issues going on in Ethiopia and how being informed on that helps you make decisions as a coffee roaster and somebody who's going to be sourcing coffee. Because in the next episode, folks, we're going to be talking about the education that's required to launch a coffee roasting brand. And it's way more than you might think. Just a heads up. So join us in the next episode, folks. Thanks, Todd. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.